Hi. So yes, I will speak about PM2. I'm the first author of PM2. So I will begin by a presentation about me. So I'm a CEO and founder at Keymetrics, the monitoring solution built on top of PM2. I'm the first author of PM2 that couldn't be like so big without all the contributors that made this project better. I'm full stack JavaScript developer and I'm technologist. So my app is ready. I developed my application. Now I need to put it in production. But deploying to production is complex. There are a lot of parameters to take into account. Like on my application only use like half, 10% of my resources on my servers. My app is leaking memory. Why? Why the server went out of memory? A lot of questions comes to mind when you need to deploy your application. So this is exactly why I built PM2 3 years ago. So what is PM2? PM2 is a production application manager for Node.js. It's dedicated for Node.js, but you can manage other softwares with PM2. It comes with a built-in load balancer, guarantees uptime, and helps you manage your processes. So here are your application before using PM2. So it's a bit messy. You will use like a lot of different software. You may use like some Unix built-in process manager that are not very well fitted for Node.js applications and so on. And once you use PM2, you will have like a structured way of deploying your application. You will have like a global overview. You will be able to use all the resources on the same server and do a lot of things with it. So PM2. So it helps you manage and optimize all the resources used by your applications. It will also help you to manage your software from the usability side, log management, deployment, and also comes with a module feature that allows you to extend the capabilities of PM2. So just some figures about the software. We have more than 10,000 stars on GitHub, more than 2 million downloads. The project is like the 86th most popular JavaScript project on GitHub. There are more than 2,500 commits, more than 120 contributors, and more than 750 tests. So tests are very important for PM2 because like PM2 is entirely built on Node.js, on JavaScript. And we wanted really to provide a quality software for production application. This is why we built a lot of tests. We do like almost test-driven development across 5 different Node.js versions from Node.js 0.10 to the 5.0. So this is like the evolution of the project since the beginning. We can see that an open source project get a lot of contributors, and that contributors participate to all part of this software. So yes, this slide is mainly to say thank you to all the contributors that made this software better, that helped us to solve issues, that build features and everything. So you can see there are a lot. This is a map of downloads of PM2 in real time. So it shows you where PM2 has been downloaded in real time in this globe. Every time someone installs PM2, it does like a ping on our server. We translate this IP address into GPS coordinates, and we put this on this map. This map is inspired from the Tron movie, and it's quite nice. We have also large companies already using our software. PayPal, Intuit, eBay, Bloomberg, Southwest, Yandex, JP Morgan, and so on, Mairie de Paris also. And we are very proud that these companies use our software in production in a lot of servers. So now let's discuss about PM2. I will cover all the aspects from the installation to process management to monitoring and so on. So first, installation of PM2 is very easy. PM2 is hosted on GitHub. The source code is hosted on GitHub, and you can install it from npm. So you just need to do npm install PM2-G, and you will have this software available from the command line. So no setup is required once you install PM2. Once you launch it, it will directly pop all the files, it will configure it itself and so on. But you can add some other features, like if you want to have like a cleaner setup of PM2, you can do PM2 completion install that will help you when you have to manage like a lot of processes, when you manage 50 processes that has different names, and it helps you to autocomplete all these commands. And you have also a PM2 startup that allows you to generate the startup script. So if your server crashes and it gets restarted, it will like respawn all the processes that was already launched before the crash. Important. So launching app. Sorry, I'm a bit thirsty. Jet lag. So launching apps. So launching a Node.js application is very easy. Like all the commands of PM2 are very easy to use. You can go like in a very advanced, you can use PM2 in a very advanced way, but all the commands are very simplistic to use. So PM2 start my Node.js application, and it will put your application in background, will handle the logs, will monitor it, and it will auto restart the application in case of crash or bad behavior from the application. PM2 is like dedicated for Node.js, but behind the scene, it's only like a fork, kind of simple fork. So you can start any kind of script. If you need like to start a bash script, for example, you do PM2 start script.sh. There is like a kind of hash table that do like mapping, like this is like the sh extension, so it's like a bash script and it will start it. But if you need to declare your interpreter, you do like PM2 start my application Python -- interpreter, and you can put the interpreter, so you can set the right interpreter to start the application. And after, you can act on your processes. So as it's a process manager, there are like some basic commands like to restart the application, to delete the application, to stop it, and so on. So if you develop like a microservice application, and let's say that you have like one service that is sending emails and that is right now spamming a lot of your users, you just do like PM2 stop my service that send emails, and after it will be stopped. So now the cluster mode. So as you know, JavaScript is like a mono-threaded language. So basically, you will have all your CPUs that will not do anything, and only one CPU will do all the job. So that's not the best thing. Because after, your application gets overloaded and can crash. Bam. So this is not the best thing. So why using the cluster mode? So as you know, JavaScript is a mono-threaded language, so it will only use one core on your computer. And by using PM2, PM2 will duplicate your application to use all the resources on your computer. So all the CPUs will be loaded, will do jobs, and you will be able to enhance the performance of your application and so on. Your application needs to be stateless if you want to use the cluster mode. So it means that it doesn't store any like local variable in the same process. Like all the variables need to be like shared. For example, like sessions and stuff like that. So you need to use like Redis or any other kind of database to share the states between your processes. So as always, it's very simple to start an application in cluster mode. You just do PM2 start my Node.js application -e and the number of instances. If you put 0, it will auto-detect the number of CPUs and will duplicate the number of applications depending on the number of CPUs. But you can also declare your own number. For example, if you have like a processor, a CPU with 8 cores, you can say I only want like 7 CPUs to be used and 1 CPU that do like something else, like for the system or so on and so on. After you, as PM2 is written in Node.js, we are tightly linked to Node.js, so we can offer like more advanced feature. So for example, the cluster feature, and also like for managing your application, we offer reload without downtime. So you do PM2 reload the name of your application. This will, for example, if you already started 4 applications in cluster mode and you do reload, it will pop up 4 new processes. We'll wait that the 4 old processes finish to process their work, and the new one will replace the old one. So you will not lose any queries. So it's like seamless for your users, and you can update your code very easily without any downtime. After, there is the graceful reload feature that will send a signal to your process to say, okay, you are going to be killed, so finish all your work, or close all the database connections and so on. And after, you do like a process.exit, and it will exit your application, and the new one will replace the old one. And after, you have the scale. Well, this is like a nifty feature, but it's just like to scale up or scale down the number of processes. So if you do like PM2 scale my API 8, it will pop 8 processes. If you do 2, it will scale down all your processes and so on. Now, inspecting applications. So once you started your applications, it's very useful to have some information about the listing of your processes, the CPU usage, memory usage, and so on. So there are some commands that are built in on PM2 list, that will simply list all the processes that are launched. So you can see like the name of your application, the process ID, the mode that the script has been launched on, the PID, the status, the number of restart, uptime, memory, and all these key metrics, key information to know. So for example, you can see on this list that there is like the first script is like, it's a bash script, and you can see that the mode is fork. So because it's like a bash script, it's a simple fork. But the other applications are Node.js applications, so they are all launched on cluster mode. After, you can monitor the CPU and memory usage. You just need to do PM2 monit, and in your terminal, it will like pop interface built on term caps to see in real time how your processes are behaving, so you can track the CPU, memory usage of each of your applications. And you can also get more information about your processes. You just do PM2 show the name of my application or the ID, and you can get different information. So for example, on the top of the screenshot, you can see like the status, name, ID, the logs, because like the logs, when you start an application with PM2, we split the logs in 2 files, like a files to get like all the error output, and one other to get only the standard output. You can see the PID path, the mode on which your application has been starting on. If there is like the watch and reload feature, because there is like this feature on PM2 that allows you to, when you start an application, to restart, to reload your application when there is a file that is changed. So it can be useful for staging or development environment. So you have all this metadata on the top of this screenshot. After, you can have like some information about the revision control metadata. So you can see which revision control has been used, where the repository of your application, the root, blah blah, and the probes value. So the last part on the screen, you can see that there are like some metrics. So basically, you can use the PMX library that allows you to track variable over the time, in real time, from your code. So for example, you can track the number of users connected, the number of WebSocket connections. You just need to do like, it's very simple to use. You just need to use this library to expose some variables so you can track their values without having to do a weird thing. After, we help developers and DevOps on managing logs. So to display logs in real time, you just do PM2 logs, and you will see like all the logs in real time. You can declare the name of the application. We also offer the PM2 flush command that will like just empty all your logs. It can be useful if your application throws a lot of logs every second and so on. And you can reload the log. So if you use like log rotate, you can use PM2 reload logs, so it will like refresh all the logs files. So now, organizing applications. So if you build your application in a microservice way, you splitted your monolithic application into small services, it can be quite painful to start all the application with all their options on how it should behave, so the environment variable, the name of your application, the number of instances you want, the watch, if the application must be restarted on a certain threshold of memory, the argument, and so on. If you have a lot of application, it can be quite ugly to manage it over the time. So this is why we have this feature. It's like the JSON declaration. So basically, you will have like a JSON file. It can be like in your package.json, or it can be in like an independent file, where you can declare the behavior and the option of each of your application of your microservice software. So let's say this one, this is like, I call it ecosystem.json. So we have 3 applications, and you can see that each application has different parameters. So it's very useful when you need to manage an application with a lot of services communicating each other on the same server. And after, it's seamless to use like JSON declaration. So this is like, I call it ecosystem.json. So after, if you want to start all this application, you just do PM2 start ecosystem.json, and it will pop up all your processes, and it will be, you will be able to list them and do all the commands that are useful for other Node.js application. After, you can do restart, PM2 restart ecosystem.json, and you can stop it, as always. So deployment system. So I use it a lot. It's like a feature. So basically, we embedded a simple bash script from TG. It's like a very simple way to deploy application. So basically, I think that that developers should be able to manage themselves the life cycle of their application. They should not ask to like the sysadmin or so on to deploy the new application, because like the developer need to be able to deploy a specific version on one server to see how it behaves on production and so on. So that's why we built this deployment system into PM2. So you just take the previous file that was declaring each of your application into the ecosystem.json, and you will add the deploy part. On the deploy part, you will have all your environments. So, for example, in this screenshot, you can see the production environment that must be that has like multiple hosts. So you can see that the production environment will deploy the code in these 3 hosts, and after there is the staging environment. So in these two parts, you can declare different options. What is the Git repository that must be deployed, the path, the post-deploy command. So for example, if I deploy my code here, it will run an npm install to install all the modules. That if I have added some modules on my package.json, it will start or restart all the processes that are declared into the same file with the environment you want and so on. And you can also declare the environment variable that must be injected into your application. As you can see in the staging part, where there is like the environment and there is node env dev. It should be staging. Okay. After, the commands are very easy. So once you have this file and you have all the authorization, you have to make sure that your target servers has like the authorization to do like the git clones and all these commands. You can do PM2 deploy my configuration file, the environment, and setup. So basically, it will go to your server, to your remote server. We create all the files that are needed. We create like a deployment file, so you will be able to track your deployment over the time. And after, once you did that, you can update your remote application very easily. So you just do PM2 deploy ecosystem JSON production, and it will look at the production part on your ecosystem file, and it will update your code. And if you deployed like a wrong version or something like that, you can revert to the end-dash deployment. So PM2 deploy ecosystem production revert, and how many deployments you want to go back to roll back. So modules. So modules is like a new feature on PM2. So as you've seen, there are already some the more important features that are embedded in PM2. from the deployment, the application declaration, from the monitoring feature and so on. And now we do not want to make PM2 bloated, so we don't want to put too many features on the software. So that's why now we built a module system. So it's like a Node.js application that can do many things, that can extend the PM2 features, or it can be a standalone software, or it can be like a monitoring module. So what is a module? So it's an application that extends the PM2 capabilities, because there is the API on PM2, so you can interact with PM2 programmatically. You just need to put it on your package.json. After, you can call PM2 point start, the name of my file. You can pass the option you want, like the JSON I showed you before as a parameter. It can be a worker process providing an API. So in the future, it would be interesting, like, because microservices is like a real trend. So in the future, it's not. I see that it would not be like only library that you could install from NPM, library that you can interact with your code, but it could be like also processes. So you could be able to install like services that do like OAuth, authorization, and that expose an API that you can use in another process. So you could like install different modules that can do like different jobs for your application. Or it can be a totally independent software. For example, you can do like PM2 install Sinopia, and you will have like a private NPM repository, or PM2 install PM2 SMTP, and you will have like a SMTP server developed in Node.js, or a lot of other things. So basically, the command is simple: PM2 install my module name. The module name is like the name, it's a name of a module on the NPM repository. So you cannot install any library. You cannot do like PM2 install express. Doesn't make any sense. It should be like an application that is configured in a way that can be run in standalone way. So when you do this, PM2 install my module, it gets the module from NPM, it will start it, and it will keep it alive forever. After, managing module is like simple. PM2 install my module. If you want to uninstall it, PM2 uninstall. And you can configure your modules. So you can put like different configuration variable that can be overridden by PM2. So you do PM2 set the name of my module and the name of my attribute and the new value that you want to be used in your software. So I will just show you some modules that we already developed. So for example, to log rotate all the logs of your file, you just do PM2 install PM2 log rotate, and this software will connect to PM2, will list all the processes, will look at which files are opened and which files are like being writing on, and it will check if it not exceed like a certain amount of disk space, or if it doesn't like exceed like 1 week and so on, and it will automatically log rotate your file. So built-in, you just do PM2 install PM2 log rotate, and all your files, your log files will be rotated. After, there is like this PM2 web shell. So PM2 web shell doesn't work on Node.js 4 and 5 because like behind the scene, behind PM2 web shell, there is like tty.js that is a way to expose a web shell from your browser. So I just made this proof of concept. So if you do PM2 install PM2 web shell, you will have a fully capable terminal in your browser. So it means that you can use Emacs, you can use Vim, you can use HTOP, you can use anything you want, like on Windows and so on. It looks like this. So you just install this module, and after you will be able to connect in localhost or from remote into PM2 web shell, and you will have this terminal fully capable. After, you can configure some things. As I showed you before, there is like the configuration system. So for example, I can do PM2 set PM2 web shell HTTPS through, and it will expose this web shell in a HTTPS protocol. So I do not advise you to use this module in production servers because it can be a bit risky. But it's a nice proof of concept. So to write your own module, it's very simple. You just do, if you install the latest PM2 version, or you have more than the 0.15 version of PM2, you have the command PM2 module generate that will create a sample module that you can directly publish. So after you go to this folder, you do PM2 module publish, it will do like a npm publish, and it will do a git push. And after, you will be able to say to anyone, oh, okay, install this module. So for example, it could be like a chat. So you could do like PM2 install PM2 chat, for example, and you will have like a chat. It could be like a SMTP server, DNS server, anything you want. And the official module repositories is PM2 Hive. So there are already more than 20 modules. So there are only 3 modules like acting as a standalone processes. And the other modules are like modules that can interact with different parts of your infrastructure. So for example, there are modules that connect to your Redis database, that connect to your MongoDB database, to your Varnish, to your CouchDB, or anything else. And after, you can get the metrics, and you can also act on them. So yes, monitoring with Keymetrics. So basically, we built Keymetrics, the solution Keymetrics, on top of PM2. So if you already use PM2, it's seamless to integrate to Keymetrics, and you can do like the basics monitoring features, and you can like track a lot of things with Keymetrics. So it looks like this. So you have like a listing of all the processes on your server, and it gives you like a global overview of all your application in real time. It's like a unique product. And we saw some competitors coming more and more, so that's cool. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Alexander.
And the slides are available on bit.ly JSConf.Asia. Sure.
Do you want to have some questions for Alexander at PM2?
Thank you for creating PM2. We are using PM2 in our production server now.
My pleasure, thank you.
But there's one thing that I'm still thinking about whether fully using PM2 is, do you have any Docker support by default? Because
yes.
Now I'm using Docker, but then because of the foreground mode and stuff, some problem with PM2, switch back to use NPM. What's your view on support on Docker?
So for Docker, we have some Docker containers that are like able to run PM2. So PM2 is always useful when you use Docker because it embed like the cluster mode, and so it allows you to do like all this optimization about the resources usage. And sure, I should do like more documentation about Docker, but we have already like some Docker file, and I will make like a page on our official documentation to explain how to use PM2 in the best way with Docker.
Hi, sorry. This is not a PM2 question, except what's the visualization? How did you do the visualization of the slides? It's really cool. The globe.
The globe. It's an open source project I hacked. I don't remember exactly which repository it is, but it's someone that built that reproduced like the same dashboard than in the movie Tron. So there is like this entire dashboard you can see on the Tron movie that he did like in JavaScript, and I just took like the map and I hacked it totally to have like a different result.
Hi, thanks for the talk.
Thanks.
And I'm wondering, except the monitor the memory usage, is there any other additional memory feature, such like heap dump or snapshot?
So yes, basically you have like also the max memory reload, max memory restart command that allows you, if you use like for example all the socket.io version that was leaking before, and you cannot upgrade this library, you can use this max memory restart that will monitor the memory usage, and that will reload your application in case of this threshold being like reached. So you can set like limits on the memory usage. after for the heap dump and CPU dump and so on, you need to use Keymetrics or a commercial solution to get these features.
Okay. Extra. So you mean we can also add extra event when the leaking events happen, right?
Yes. Max memory restarts. Yes. So basically, it's a bit like messy, but you can see like on the first line, max memory restart, and I can put the memory limit of my application, and it will not do a restart. It doesn't do like a restart. It does like a reload if it's a Node.js application. Yeah. So it will be like seamless. To be reloaded. Like if your application reaches memory limit, it will be seamless. Like so, it's not like very a clean way to handle memory leaks. But sometimes you cannot do like in the other ways.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so as far as I know, like Node.js, the cluster module allows you to scale like network connections by passing the UDS socket to another process. So does PM2 does it differently?
You mean like you could like use just the cluster module to do? So basically, yes, you can just use the cluster module if you want to use all the CPUs. So first thing is that I think that's not the developer job to do all these things, and PM2 does much more than just like clustering your application. It adds some features like the reload or like the graceful reload that are like critical features for production applications. So sure, you can use the cluster module by yourself, but if you use PM2, it will be much more cleaner. We worked like 3 years on the integration of the cluster mode for Node.js application. So basically, it's battle hardened.
All right. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.